Hey guys, thanks for being on the next show. This is episode 8. Of course, my name is Oliver. We are talking to Azariah, a good friend of Molly. Today we talk about mental health and all the stuff that Azariah is through. We hope in the end you gain something out of it. You have a good time listening to us. We are 100% convinced that you will be okay in the end. So enjoy the show.
So Oliver, Azariah, Oliver.
Hey brother.
We all got beards, you know. We're the beard gang over here. Mine isn't as close as your guys, but look, we're just happy to have you with us.
Appreciate it, man.
So Azariah, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Who are you? What do you do for a living?
My name is Azariah. I live out here in nice sunny California, Sacramento, stand up. And right now I actually do multiple things, but one of the main things that I do right now is that I work from home as an administrative assistant for an outpatient clinic.
You're also a photographer. I was telling Oliver here before we had you online.
I try to be. I try to do a little bit of that too as well.
How long you been doing photography for?
Honestly, about 12 years.
12 years.
12 years. It's been a journry.
Yes,
hell of a ride.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I told you, Azariah, but Oliver is also a photographer. I don't know if I told you, but Oliver, maybe you should explain here a little bit. I know you do a lot of food photography, but now you're going into more portrait photography and doing weddings and stuff like that.
It's expanding in different ways right now. Of course, the food photography is still a big part of my life, and it will always be, I think. It's like the bread and butter for me. But right now I receive a lot of askings about weddings, and I hate doing weddings. To be honest, because it's quite stressful. You know, food doesn't run away. And you don't have to catch some emotions or some memories. You know, if I want to, I can set up the plate like 20 times if I need to. But to be on a wedding, the last time I did it was like I was sweating. Holy crap, man! That was my shirt was soaked, and there happened something. I don't think I did even tell you, Molly. I applied for a job as a employed photographer for a company in Düsseldorf. They produce like barbecue grills and outdoor food stations, and they have an own cook, and they have an app, and they produce like recipes and short videos, and they are looking for a employed photographer right now. And I'm still in the game, and I have a training day at the end of the month. Okay. So that would be the game changer if I can get my hands on this job. And yesterday I did a little bit of charity photo shooting for a charity organization. Their office is below my apartment or under my apartment, and I'm photographer since I think like almost 10 years now.
So you guys got all the experience, man. 10 years, 12 years. I've only been in the game for 2 years, man.
Yeah, and you're fucking good, man.
Well, I've learned a lot from both of you guys, so that's
I have to be honest, I have to learn a lot about videos from you.
Well, I'm still learning, man. It's the
it's a constant process, man.
Azariah, wanted to ask, what's your story?
My story, I think honestly, if I were to take the essence of what I have been going through and what I've been learning, is more so just about, I've been looking more so into the aspect of mental health and what that is and how that pertains to men in general, and just, being open to sharing and being vulnerable about what you're going through, and to know that that's actually not a sign of weakness, but it's actually just a sign of being healthy. And it really does help, because of course, growing up in my home, you get a spanking and then you're told not to cry. In other words, you're already conditioned from an early age, pretty much to not show emotion. That when you're hurting, what you do instead of letting it out, you have to hold it in. And so with that being said, that just kind of just seeps into all aspects of your life when you get older. And it's like, man, you've been holding things in for so long and you haven't really had a healthy way to let it out and to express it. And so I think for me, that's exactly what I've been learning how to do over, I guess, this last year, is just how to actually, just express that. Like you said, there are some days where it's like, yeah, I'm just going to take a personal day. Like, I'd have something that I'll call mental health Mondays. But it's just time where I just intentionally check in and just see how I'm doing emotionally speaking. And, so I have to do that check-in. Hey, what's going on? How you doing? I was like, yeah, I can put on a brave face for the world, but at the end of the day, there are still things that I know I go through. And I was surprised to see how it actually resonated with some other people. So that's been a real positive experience.
That's the foundation of iMOK.
When you get spanking, should you cry?
I mean, it's gonna hurt. So,
it's gonna hurt.
It's gonna hurt. So
it's just
you're gonna
funny
cry
because it's the same thing. We have kind of similar backgrounds. We're Jamaican, So when you get disciplined, it's funny, Yeah, you are told not to cry. You are absolutely right. We are conditioned at an early age, or were conditioned at an early age, to not show that emotion.
Yeah, but it's the same over here, man. You don't have to be Jamaican to get spanked when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Hey, man, my father beat the shit out of me. No, but he's a retired police officer, and when he came back from work, he had his day and night shifts. And they went through a lot of shit on the streets, even here in Germany. We are, of course, not in the States, they always have to be, be afraid to lose their lives, but they see a lot of shit, or they saw a lot of shit back in the days. And he was he earned the only income for our family, so there was a lot of pressure on him. It's not, I try to excuse it, it's wrong by any means, but I get it, now that I'm a father of 3 almost adult kids. I know that you're sometimes, your hand is shaking, to shut the fuck up. Yeah. But I never did it. And I always try to solve it in a different way by talking, explaining, whatever. Even if that means you have to say it like 500 times. It's always better than just one spank. And so of course I get it. And it was the same kind of raising like you guys experienced. It was like, he beat the shit out of me, and then he said, shut up, don't cry. And that's related to the beginning of our podcast series, or of our iMOK story, that I said, I'm standing in front of a big dam and opened the door, and all the feelings, emotions that were caged inside of me for I would say the majority of my life, or my whole life, like 44 years. They are just rushing out since 6 months now, and I'm not in a position to close the door again, and I won't, because that makes me a person, that makes me also a man. At the beginning, I was a little bit, I don't know how to put this, but I didn't feel good about it. I felt weak. In the eyes of the community, the people around you, they always see, yeah, you're a big guy, you 6 foot something, and you have like 240 pounds. What the fuck are you crying about? You're a grown ass man. But, we talked about this a lot of times. You go through so many different stages in your life and so much shit. You have to find somebody to talk about, and this is our therapy group. So welcome, Azariah.
Factual.
Azariah, you mentioned every now and then you have your days where you have to check in on yourself. Is that something that you have like set days for throughout the week, or is kind of just like you have to read these signals of your body, I guess, and just see when you're getting closer to that line? It's just like, okay, I need to take a day for myself here.
Yeah, you just really have to be, you have to be intentional, and you have to, like you said, it does come down to knowing you and coming down to knowing your rhythms. Like for me, I work a lot, busy a lot. I'm always giving. And so it's important for me to have those moments when I have to step aside to be like, okay, I realize in a way how I reacted to something that somebody had said or done. I was like, okay, I didn't have to react in that way. Or I see myself getting really quiet. It's more like a passive aggressive tone that I'll take. And I was like, all right, I need to check in. And sometimes I even had to apologize to some people, just to let them know that I'm sorry. And just it's a process. It's a process. Because I say for me, and going back to it as well, I can say just of most men in general, how many have ever seen their fathers cry? You know, how many can say that? How many can say that they've actually seen them express that emotion? Like I've never seen that growing up. So for me, my way of how I handle difficult situations is that I can't. I just gotta put my head down and I gotta take it. But I realized that no, man, I was like, I don't have to take that path. And so for me, most times, honestly, I'll write. Writing is a good way for me to get things out. So I'll take time. I have journals here, and I'll just start writing things out. And most
Great.
times in writing, I can be really honest, and it feels really good to get it out because I can really go to some dark places. And most times, when I say dark places, it's like that dark place within, where it's like there's a lock on that door, and you don't want to open it up. I was like, nah, we're at an age right now where we have to address those things. Otherwise, it's going to come out in different ways that aren't going to be healthy in future relationships that you have. So that's definitely how I've been managing.
Yeah, how many of us could say that our fathers, we've seen them cry, we've seen that type of emotion, and I think it just goes back to the community and the type of world we live in. It's just like we're people aren't used to seeing that type of emotion from men. Like,
Yeah.
how do we go about changing that, or do we change that, or what should be our mindset facing that issue? Because, for example, there's dating apps out there, and you know, there's descriptions for these women, and there's just like they have all these criteria for what a man should be or what they're looking for, and it's just like that is not the criteria to be emotional or to express our feelings, and or certain feelings. How do we how do you I'll put that on the table. Like, what do you guys think? How should we go about that? Should we care? Should we kind of show less emotion in the beginning, and then as you get to know the
No.
person, show a little bit more? Or what do you think, Oliver?
Show exactly what's inside of you, because I think that's the main part of getting an adult. Um, you
Getting an
know
adult?
that Yeah, that an adult man, that you have the feeling that you look inside yourself, like Azariah said, the mental health Monday, to check in on yourself, and see what's happening inside of you, and let it out. I think, I'm right now in a lot of dating processes right now, and I always I always say I have my heart on my tongue, I tell what's going on inside of me, I talk about what's hurting me. I talk about what I don't want to have in my life anymore, because I think that's one of the biggest parts. If you end up or if you break up, with your girl, with your wife, whatever, you learn really fast what you not want anymore. It doesn't mean that you know what you want, but you know exactly what you don't want anymore. And to address this, to see these feelings inside of you and address it to somebody else, doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be a woman, but I always be true and honest, or at least I try to, you know. And there is this quote. I think I already mentioned it in one of our latest podcasts. It's like, heal from what cut you before you bleed on people who didn't hurt you.
Oh man, can you say that again, brother? You said that a little too fast.
I did. I'm sorry. Heal from what cut you before you bleed on people who didn't hurt you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's definitely it goes back to the same aspect of just checking in. And like I said, that's an intentional thing, an intentional step you have to take. For example, in in my community, which would be known as the African American community, something that is not talked about is actually having a therapist. Now, it's so funny because when I talk to other people, who aren't African American, I hear them say things like, "Oh, I was talking to my therapist the other day." I was like, "You have a therapist? Like, you actually have a therapist?" Like, they just say it. And so for me, I was like, man, I think that that's actually another thing too that I even started looking into. I was like, hey, I have these benefits at work. Let me see if I can talk to a therapist. I mean, man, we come from like a whole bloodline of trauma.
Yeah.
And I think just in order to break that cycle, man, I think it definitely does take something different. I mean, somebody always said that if you continue to do the same things that you've always done, you're going to get the same result. So it's like, at what point in time are you actually going to do something different? I was like, my dad, he did what he did based on what he had. My grandfather did what he did based on what he had, but I have now an opportunity to do something different. Yeah. And it's a matter of if I'm going to do it or if I'm just going to walk the same path. And that takes a lot of courage to be able to do something like that. That's a very courageous act. And so that's even something right now that I'm looking into, is an opportunity to sit down with a therapist. And that doesn't mean that you're crazy. That just means that you have somebody who's there to help you walk through some things and to help you see things from a different perspective.
I don't know. For me personally, just me personally, sometimes, and I think it's just kind of the biased opinion people put on therapists, but I guess I've never actually liked that route because I always felt like they're getting paid to listen to you. And for me, I'm like, somebody who wants to help you should, they're going to listen to you regardless. I just never felt too comfortable with it. So you actually have a therapist, Azariah, that you talk to?
I do not currently have a therapist, but I've been looking at some options.
All right. Well, let me know.
I did.
So you have.
I did.
So let me ask you, Oliver, then. Maybe there's a difference between professional help versus help from, then casual help from your family or from your friends or something like that. What would you say is your experience on talking to a therapist?
I think if you go to a anonymous place, to somebody you don't know, who's not familiar with you, is not part of your family, it's not part of your circle, you go there and you sit down, maybe you have a cup of tea or coffee or whatever, and you start talking about, and they start asking questions. They are not telling you in which direction you have to look. They make you look at yourself, with different questions that you start questioning yourself. It's not that they say, at least that's my experience. They're not saying to you like, you have to do this, you have to do that. That's mostly what happens if you talk to your family, because somebody knows better, always knows better. But what I experienced is like, it was a woman I went to, and she was asking targeted questions. She knew where to put the finger, lay the finger inside the wound, and there were parts, and we had sessions like I was just close to breaking down, and I was trying to stay strong. And then one time she looked at me and she said, if you have the need to cry, here are some paper sheets, start crying. Let it go. Nobody's here. We are not recording this. Let it go. And I think like it took me like 30 seconds and I cried like for at least 10 minutes.
Wow.
Without any reason, I was just there, and she offered me she gave me the room to express my feelings. And after this, we started talking, and looked at some deeper layers. It was like peeling an onion. It took time. I think it was a process of like 8 months. It was during my depression, my burnout, 2017, and it did help. It did help, but I've learned so much about psychology, therapy, regarding my wife and her mental problems she had back in the days, or for the majority of our marriage. I always thought this won't happen to me because I know fucking everything. Yeah,
Mm.
I didn't. And I learned a lot, and I'm still learning every day. Yeah, since my breakup and since I opened up to you, Molly, and we started the iMOK community thing, I'm learning every day. But now I'm looking at it. You know, I'm aware of it, what's happening around me, what's happening inside of me, and I try to stay focused. What's going on, especially there, because you have to be quite confident to be around yourself the whole day. Because
What
you
do
are
you mean by
listening the
that?
whole day. Yeah, you are listening to yourself the whole day. You know,
Hmm.
you are always there. So be careful what you think and be careful how you talk to yourself.
Azariah and I, we used to, just a little background, we used to be roommates in college, and
Yeah,
we've
you
known each
told me
other.
about that.
How long now, Azariah? We've known each other 11
12
years,
years, kind of.
12 years, 12 years.
2009.
I think I was 17,
Yeah,
and yeah.
and I,
So
and
we
I
know
was
each.
17.
Yeah, he was 17. Right, right,
Ah,
right. But we were roommates that first semester, that first term, and so we known each other and kept in touch. We went to South America together, man. We were doing
yeah, we
missionary
did.
work and stuff like that, so that was fun. But
Hmm.
look, would you like to share a time where you were maybe depressed or you were going through a dark time? You know, whether it was in school or
Oh man,
traveling. How did you pull through those times? Like, how did it affect you? How did it affect others, and how did you get through it?
I think to be honest, I'm probably still in a dark time now, but I wouldn't. I'm in a better place if that makes any sense. And it's just the first time I had the thought of actually saying, okay, checking in with myself was, a little bit about this morning. Like I had a series of people who died in my family in a short span of time. So I had my sister passed away, and
Right.
then my what
Oh,
was
sorry
it?
to hear that, brother.
Yeah, my sister passed away, my brother passed away, my uncle passed away, my mom passed away in the span of 2 years. And yeah, that was rough because I don't felt like I really had enough time to process everything that was happening. To be honest, I was kind of numb. And for me, I'm the type of person when things like that happen, I just throw myself into my work. And so, to not have to think about it, I busied myself. And I remember actually I was working at UPS in New York at the time, and it was my 35th birthday. And I remember that now we worked the early graveyard shift. So I'm in a truck and I'm loading the truck, right? And I just remember that I started breaking down. Like I literally just started crying at work to the point where I had to leave and I went to the bathroom and I think I cried for maybe about like 6 or 7 minutes. And it was just because here I am, turning 35 and the person who I guess in a sense envisioned myself being or becoming. I'm getting closer to that. And my mom is not here. The people who I care about, they're not here to sharing that with me. And I was like, man, it was a lot. So, I broke down and even now with having a son on the way, I knew that there were going to be some tough moments in life that I was going to have to meet and I was going to have to face. Number one was getting married. Number two was having kids. Both experiences that I wanted my mom to be here to be a part of. And the fact that she's not here, actually it triggered some old grief to the point where I was like, this year I was like, yeah, I need to address that. I've put it on the back burner for so long, but with
Right.
that happening, I was like, yeah, I need to address it because obviously I think that there's still some grief there that I need to deal with. So
Yeah.
pretty much, yeah. Yeah, man, that's currently where I am, to be honest. Like I tell people, I was like, I'm not out of the woods yet by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm trying to take some proactive steps towards healing because I want to be present, for my son, and I want to be 100% emotionally well to give to him all the things that he's going to need. And I can't be a shell of myself. I have to be the best
Yes.
that I can be. So that's why I was like, yeah, I need to get this addressed. I need to dig into this. I've ignored it. I've ignored it for I ignored it for 4 years, but it's like, yeah, you can't ignore it anymore.
No.
This is these type of feelings and these type of situations. They are like a boomerang. They always hit you from behind. You know, they get you.
Oh yeah, and that's what it was. Like I was not planning to cry. You know what I'm saying? I was not planning to break down. I was like, it just came out of nowhere. But the funny thing was that I didn't cry at the funeral. I didn't cry at the burial, but I just feel like everything just kind of just came out in that moment. I even had to tell my supervisor, I was like, listen, I'm going to the bathroom. I'm not well right now. And I just went up there and I cried. He seen me cry. I was like, I didn't care because, you know, I was like, I'm having a moment and I'm gonna take this moment. And I called one of my friends called my friend at that time. And, you know, I cried when she was on the phone. Like I was crying like a little baby. I was like, tears coming down my face, like snot, all that. It was probably a mess, but I was like, nah, I'm gonna have this moment. I was like, I've never given in or allowed that to be. It's always been, now we gotta hold it back. We gotta be strong. We gotta be the rock. You know, you gotta let everybody see that, you know, you're good. But yeah, I needed that.
Yeah, we all do. We all do. And this is a not funny story, you know, but we experienced exactly the same. And if I had just answered Molly's question, so how you doing, brother, by saying like the random stuff you normally answer these questions, like, hey, I'm good. You know, everything's fine. You know, because at this point we were strangers. You know, but yeah, I didn't, and this is why we're sitting here. And Azariah, I have to tell you, you know, I'm really proud of you that you are taking care of yourself and that you took your time off even at work, you know, no matter what. So, well done.
Yep. So likewise, Azariah, and congratulations on having a son soon.
Yeah.
That's really big. The first thing you said was, yeah, you still have ups and downs, but you are mentally
more aware.
Yeah.
Honestly, it just comes down to actually being in a place where you're ready to deal with those issues, to deal with those skeletons in the closet, so to say. Like I said, my family growing up, you know, we weren't the most functional family. If anything, we were dysfunctional. In a lot of ways, we still are. I'd love it if we can sit down for family therapy, but that's never going to happen. Yeah, so that dream kind of died. But I just know that for me, and for what I want to create and for what I want to share with others, I want to have that place of where things are functional. And I know the only way that that's going to happen is if I learn how to, you know, intentionally communicate things. Being the key word, being vulnerable. And I remember what actually started me on that path was this woman that I dated about 9 years ago. There was a time when we were having a conversation and she told me something that I don't know why it just sounded different, but it did. And she was like, you know, I think you're afraid to be vulnerable. I said, what she said? I was like, what did she say? Like nobody ever called me out like in that way before. And so when she said that, I was like, what does that mean? She's like, yeah, I feel like you're afraid to be vulnerable. And I guess that she's right because, you know, it's a leap of faith. It really is. I mean, you know, you're putting yourself out. You're not knowing what to expect. How are things going to turn out? And so it was something new. It definitely is what started the journey. So it's been 9 years actually in the making. Does that mean that it's easy? Of course not, because nature. I've been conditioned for so many years that I have to intentionally say, even now in relationships, to communicate certain things to significant others in my life, I have to be really intentional to say certain things that are going to leave me vulnerable. Yeah. It had taken me a long time, like, you know, saying, I love you. I was like, that is still new to me, you know, because we didn't grow up in the touchy-feely family. So it's like to communicate these things. I'm like, yeah, I was like, even though even though this is how you've been educated, even though this is in a sense who you are by nature, that does not mean that that's who you have to be. And you have the choice, like I said, to actually to change that. And so I just want to change it. I want to do something new. I just want to be the first of something that's never been seen before in my family.
Yeah. Great job. And there comes another quote that's so much related to what you right now said, Azariah. Mental health problems don't define who you are. They are something you experience. You walk in the rain and you feel the rain. But importantly, you are not the rain. And this is what I did with my kids. I raised them different, even if I sometimes had the urge to slap the shit out of them. But I never did it. So I broke the cycle. I broke the cycle of, being mean and rude to your kids. Because, like we always say, failure or fail, first attempt in learning. Kids come into this world without a manual for parents. You always try to raise them as you have been raised. But there comes a point, even from in my life, there came a point where I had to choose. Do I act in the same way I was treated, or do I try a different way? And I read a lot of books. I went to some sessions from the child office, to learn about how children change during their growing up, even especially in puberty. There is a book that I read back in the days. It's called Puberty, was the headline, and below it was like puberty is when parents get strange. And this is how I try to look at it. And today my oldest son was here, and he stayed overnight, and we were sitting on the breakfast table, and he looked at me and he said, "Dad, back in the days I didn't know what the fuck you were talking about, but today I totally get it." And man, that's a victory. That's 100% a victory, because he's turning 21, and he has this mindset already that it took me like 30 years or 35 years to come to this point.
Right.
And I raised them in this mindset, and so I broke the cycle. And when they have kids and I turn a granddad someday, I know for sure, I'm 100% convinced they will treat their kids like I raised them. Hey guys, thank you for making it this far. You reached the middle of today's episode with Azariah. We hope you enjoyed it so far. We hope you gained something out of it. The second part will be a little bit deeper. It's a great opportunity for Azariah to talk about his Mental Health Monday. And please don't forget to subscribe to our Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and of course our YouTube channel. Help us to grow, help us to spread our message, help us to help you guys, and in the end we open up to each other. We are all okay. If you have something to say, please leave a comment or hit us on our email, imoktribe@gmail.com. We appreciate every one of you. Thanks for listening, thanks for sharing your stories, and let's continue with the show.
I have a question put on the table, and I think we can actually answer this question, each of us one at a time. But we'll start with our guest today, Azariah. If you could go back to a time in your life and tell yourself one thing, what time would it be, and what would you say?
Man, I don't even know. I don't even know if I have an answer to that. I feel because I have thoughts on that. I feel that everything that you go through, right? And it gets you to where you are right now. The only thing I guess I can just say, man, you just gotta trust the process, man. You gotta trust the process. And the reason why I say that, because in moments when things don't look like they're working out for the best, it's easy to get discouraged, but you just have to find a way to trust that things are going to come out better on the other side. Not to panic, not to overreact, but just trust. You know, keep that optimism. You know, I think that would definitely that'd be the best thing that I guess I could say to myself is just know that things are going to work out better on the other side. You may not see it, you may not know how, but they always have a way of turning around.
Yeah, they will.
Okay, I like that. I like it. What about you, Oliver?
Oh, I had some time now to think about it, and at first I wanted to say almost exactly the same that Azariah said, but for me it's like if I had the chance to go back like in my early 20s, I would just say to myself, be patient and do what you love. You know, listen to your heart. You know, don't be affected by the things somebody else around you is telling you how you should be, how you should act, how you should feel. See your life through your own glasses, through your own lens, and not get judged by the view from somebody onto your life. I think that's a big one. That's a hard one. It's a tough one. Of course it is. But yeah, that's what I'm experiencing right now. That, you know, there are 8 billion people on this planet. And if you put 10 photographers into one room with exactly the same setup, you receive 10 different pictures.
Right.
This is because we all look at the world in different ways.
Yeah.
So who am I to judge what you do, what Azariah is doing, what everybody around me is doing, you know? The only one I can maybe judge is myself.
Yeah.
So what about you, brother?
Me?
Yeah, you had now the longest time to think about what you have to say now.
Well, I already knew the answer, you know, so I already knew my answer.
So,
But
and enlight us.
as far as a specific time, maybe 2017. 2017 was when my son was born, and it was a really special moment. But it was also a couple of months after he was born that I started realizing some potential dangers that could blow up and get worse over the next few years between me, my wife, and potentially my entire family. And I think, unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. So I'm in it. I'm in the thick of it right now. And of course, I go into more detail in the last few podcasts, but I think I would go back to that point and just tell myself, hey, it's okay to feel.
Yes.
It's okay to feel. Whatever you're feeling, it's okay. If that means you're angry, be angry. You know, if that means you feel like, you know, being emotional, be emotional. If that means you feel like you want to cry, cry. You know, but I think what Azariah said in the beginning of the podcast hit the nail on the head. It's just we as a man, you know, my family was just beginning, wife, child. I was like, you know what? You are the head of the household. You need to carry yourself, you need to get it together. But whatever you're feeling, you need to put it aside and put your wife and your kid first. And I think that just led to, they say there's 5 stages of grief, is it?
Yes.
Denial.
Mm-hmm.
And that denial hit me, you know, after a few months after my son was born. It was just like, you know, I kind of saw some issues, some potential problems, and I just kind of ignored it. I put what I felt on the background. And then after a while, like after a year or two, like I just started getting really angry. I was just like, look, like this is what's happening. This is what needs to change, and it's not changing. There's no change. There's nothing progressing here. And you know, I kind of ignored it for a while, and this is what needs to happen. You know, and there was still no change. There's still no, you know, there's still no. And so that denial went to anger, and then that anger went to bargaining. And it was just like, look, you know, what can I give to get, you know, because I feel this way. What can I give to get what I need, you know? And um, hey, I bargained my whole life away.
Yeah,
I bargained my whole life away.
you
And
did.
that's the stage, right? Denial, anger, bargaining, and then it's depression. And let me tell you, when that depression hit, boy, oh man, yeah, that hit. So I think that's what a lot of this year has been for me. And the last step is acceptance. So um, look, I think if I would have just been honest with myself from the start and said, look, I'm not okay. This is how I feel, and not beat myself up
Yeah,
inside and say I shouldn't be feeling this way. I have a wife and a kid to take care of. You know, if I would have just made sure I was okay all the way back then, I think it would have been, maybe it would have had the same result. Maybe I would have been here, but I think I would have felt better about it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I think it
for
goes
sure.
back to what Azariah, what you said, bro. You said that, hey, you know, you got to express what you're feeling, you know, and you got to make that time to make sure you're okay. That mental health, what'd you call it? Mental health Monday?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Check
Yeah,
you
check
have to
in.
take that time for yourself. You have to check in. And I just ignored that checking in process. And yeah.
I
So
think we
if
all
I could
guilty.
go back and
We are all guilty of this, brother.
yeah.
We did it all. We all did it.
So if I could go back and tell myself something, it'd be like, look, it's okay to feel, man. Just feel what you're feeling, express what you're feeling, and don't shy away from it. You know, don't be afraid to share that with the people who are supposed to be there the most for you. You know,
And
so
100% you have to address it. That's the most important part about it.
have to
You
address
have
it.
to talk about it, because if you don't and you just live by expectations, it's also unfair to everybody around you, because you expecting them to read your mind.
Mm, yeah,
You know, if you address it, if you say it, if you wish for, that's a different story. But if you just have expectations, and that's relating to what I said before, it's like, you know, we are all looking on our lives through different glasses. You know, we have our own view, and to have expectations about anything, doesn't matter what it is. You know, maybe it's your boss, you want to, you know, have a new paycheck, you know, earn more money or something. You have to ask for it, because without asking, the answer is always no.
yeah. We met each other on Instagram as a couple of photographers. Hey, I like this pic. I noticed you use the same lighting I use, Godox lighting. Like, yeah, I love it. This and the other. Oh, I see you're in
Yeah,
Hawaii. You know, nice photos, Marley. You know, yeah. It's just one day
yeah,
you messaged me and it's like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm over here chilling. How you doing? And then you're just like, look, I'm not okay, bro. Like, my wife and I are going through this, I'm going through a breakup, this and the other. And it was like, hey, you know, I'm not okay either, because I know I'm in Hawaii and I was just in Jamaica before, and just like, no, like, I'm not okay either. My wife and kids are in a whole other country, and this is what I'm going through right now. And, you know, that part where we, yeah, opened up to each other, and then not just opened up to each other, but we're sharing our experiences with each other. That's what I'm okay is all about. That's why we
yeah.
brought. That's why we wanted to have you on the show, Azariah. That's why we had Fabian on the show last week.
Last week, yeah,
And our goal is just to help help people. There's people. There's other men. There's other women. There's children. There's people out there that are feeling things and they don't know how to, yeah, how to get through whatever they're going through. What would you tell somebody who's going through an experience maybe similar to ours or yours personally? Um, Start with you, Azariah.
Uh, be honest. That's gonna take, like I said, that's gonna take courage. Just be honest with where you are, and know that it's not gonna be as bad as you think. When you do share, there will be people who will resonate. You'll be surprised.
yeah,
Uh, you will really be surprised how many people will open up and they will share. And like you said, yeah, I think everybody is going through something on a day to day, and just, they're looking for different ways of how to cope and how to deal. And yeah, just to be honest, it's about where you are. Find a group that you can, that will be there to support you, and definitely take some time. where you don't always have to be doing something. You don't always have to be hanging out. I was like, sometimes if you just want to be to yourself, be to yourself. You know, if you want to take a personal day, take a personal day. I don't know where people like to go to recharge, but for me, I have places that I go where I said that, I use this statement where I said, like this weekend I'm going to pour into myself. And that's what I do. In other words, just doing things that make me come alive. What are some things that I like to do? What are some things that I enjoy? And let me do some of those things to recharge myself, recharge my batteries. So I'd say definitely take those intentional times to set them aside. Be like, hey, I know that, we have plans to go out this weekend, but I'm going to take this weekend at this point in myself. That's okay.
Don't be afraid to share. I like that. Yeah. Don't be afraid to
Yeah,
share.
and
'cause
don't
there will
judge
be
yourself.
people out there. You said there will be people out there that will relate to you. There are people out there that you'd be surprised that are probably going through the same thing, and that's exactly what happened with you and me, Oliver, and even me and you,
Yes.
Azariah. Like Oliver shared, and dude, you were having a crappy day, bro. You were just like texting me, and you were like texting me paragraphs, and like I was just like, yo, this guy is just unloading right now. And
Yes.
it wasn't like, oh my goodness, what is this guy doing? It was like I was just like reading everything, and I'm like holding back tears because it's like this is exactly how I feel. And like Azariah said, you'd be surprised, and you were surprised because I unloaded on you, and it was just like, hey, we're going through the same thing right now, and look what you opening up has brought where that has brought us to today. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then same thing with Azariah. Like Azariah, you kept in touch with me while I was in Bolivia, and you definitely did a lot more of the reaching out within the last few months, and it was just like yeah. And then I came back here to the States. I didn't even tell you about it. I think my brother told you about it, and you got my number, and then you reached out again. You had opened up to me when you were in Bolivia, and I knew you were having a similar experience. So that just allowed me to, open up to you. And now you're on the iMOK podcast and stuff. So it's just like, you're absolutely right, man. Sharing, I think we're always going to be surprised at just how much people can relate to us and how much they can help us and help others and how far that can go.
Yeah, and like for me, I know not to be fooled by Instagram because like I like this statement where it's like you can edit a lot of things out of the frame of a photo.
Yeah.
And a video, it doesn't show the real of what's going on in someone's everyday life. That's just for Instagram. I was like, I already know that as human beings, we go through things. And I was like, yeah, so okay, that's nice. I see all of this stuff. You here, you there, you living it up. How are you doing? What's up? Let's check in. Let's talk. But for me, I've just always tried to have those kind of friendships where we go deeper than what's just on the surface level. It's more than just that. Because like I said, how are you really doing? I was like, for me, I have my days when emotionally I'm not doing the best. And so I was like, I know it's not just me. I think that's the majority of everybody. So I always seen that as an essential part. Let's call, let's check in, man. See how you doing. Like I said, you on the other side of the globe. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna still call. I'm gonna still check in. So appreciate you answering those calls, even though I would like probably FaceTime at random times.
Yeah, it was kind of random. But you know what? I answered, and I do
appreciate
you calling. I do appreciate you calling. And this guy Oliver was calling me all the time too when I was down there. So I appreciate you guys, man.
That was also a little bit selfish, brother. That was not only just to check in on you. That was also to get rid of my shit.
Yeah, you're right.
No, that's not a one-way street, And we felt very fast, not that we are going through similar times, that we also share a special mindset or a similar mindset about various topics. And like sharing is caring, It's like if you open up, you have the ripple effect. Somebody will get hit by the wave, and maybe we'll reach out to you or maybe to somebody else. It doesn't matter, You don't have to be always informed about what's going on, but you can be sure that if you start this wave, it's not stoppable. And this is what we are doing, We are constantly putting out our content. And I'm not looking at the numbers, how many people are, visiting our sites or, clicking on the videos or something. I know for sure, and people reached out to me already and said, hey, where's your next episode? I'm waiting
Yeah.
for it,
Yeah.
So I know
People are
that we affecting people's lives.
People are
And
affected,
yeah.
Like you said, man. Well, I think I shared this with you before, but I think it was Ellen White, Azariah, who said it. It was just like, it's like throwing a pebble into a lake, a little pebble, and that pebble, it looks small and it's not, doesn't look very like it has much significance, but you throw it into the middle of the lake and it creates ripples, and those ripples, they just keep going. Even if you can't see it anymore, that effect of throwing that little pebble into the lake, those ripples go all the way out to the shore and bounce back into the lake. You know what I mean? And you will just never know the extent of your influence. And from as little as, you opening up when I was in Hawaii, Oliver, has brought us to this point.
Yeah.
Azariah, you calling me while I was in Bolivia and checking up on me and being persistent in checking up on me has brought you to this point. And it's just like, we don't know the extent of this podcast. And maybe in 10 years from now, someone's going to listen to this podcast in 2021. And who knows? We'll never know the extent of it.
Azariah, thank you so much for taking your time and share your story with us and with our community. But I will leave our community, like always, with a quote. Yes, man, I have to.
Always.
Turn your demons into art, your shadow into a friend, your fear into fuel, your failures into a teacher, your weaknesses into reasons to keep fighting. Don't waste your pain. Recycle your heart. And with that being said, thank you so much, Azariah, for tuning in, for staying with us, sharing with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Male, like always, appreciate that you're always there. And we see you guys next time. Take care. Peace.
Take care, guys.